Hello YouTubers, apologies for skipping a week and posting nothing last week, but we had terrible Wi-Fi and internet problems which got resolved by BT in the end, but and also it's quite nice to have a 2-week break. But so you'll remember from last time we dug a big hole. That's the bigger hole now. It's got bigger that way and deeper down within it, and actually I was trying to hit 6 feet and I did, but it became quite gravel and the ground didn't hold water really, so I filled it back up with the clay from the surrounding area to about the 5 feet level. We've had a load of rain in the last week, and as you can see, it's held. It's a small pond, so it's going to work. It's going to work down to about 5 feet, I think, in that deep area there, and obviously the margins will continue to be 18 inches. So we've done that. We've got a huge mound of earth now, which I'm sort of building up around the edges, and I've managed to clear. You'll see there's a pile of rhododendron and stuff in the center there. Now I've cleared that from over that sort of side there, and I'll be piling a load more soil there, and we're digging out now. The sensible thing is to just start digging out 12 to 18 inches down all the way around and all across itself. So that's begun in earnest in different areas, depending on how bored I feel or whatever. But I've been hitting all kinds of things as well. So we've looked at it or spoke about it in previous videos, but there's there was definitely some kind of kiln setup built here, because I've got these pipes, and I'll show you some I've dug out the ground. But there was clearly a structure and some serious pipe work going on drainage wise. So there's two sets of pipes there running along, and they run across this whole section here, and I've taken some more out of the ground up there, but we get, and there's another one running this way here. So there was something going on in this area that I'm slowly excavating, but it was probably an old kiln setup, something like that, whereby they fired clay tiles, because I'm hitting loads of broken clay tiles on the surface. But you can see we're slowly getting down, and this area is, down to about a foot now, I guess, in most places. It's hard to see really, but it is coming together, and albeit quite slowly. I'll sort of pan out. You'll see the area that we're talking about now. Yeah, so it's all falling together. The brick pile is enormous now compared to what it was. But yeah, after digging the big hole, you can see I'm slowly excavating the edges now, which will be the margins of the pond, down to about 18 inches. And I'll have to do the whole shelf over the next couple of weeks down to that sort of 18-inch depth. And then in the center, I can start maybe 5 to 6 feet in, dropping down another foot, another couple of feet in, dropping down another foot, and taking it down to that sort of 4 to 5 foot depth, which we spoke about, which will be kind of in a long rectangle here where all that greenery is, and that will now be a 5 foot sort of deep section rather than 6, because it was all getting a bit gravelly. I've done a little bit over here. Oops, I nearly fell in a hole. I've done a little bit of excavation over here. We spoke before about there was a pile of bricks, which was a foundation for whatever building it was, or a floor for it. And so you can see along here I've dug out sort of a pathway of bricks that were all laid one on the top of another and in a pattern. But I'm also sort of digging out over here, getting down to that sort of 18-inch depth, or beginning to. And the reason I'm doing it sort of one side and then the other is simply the sun catches you for too long on the side we were just looking at, so I move across to here to get a little bit of break from the sun, and that's going to be a particular issue, because next week is going to be a very sunny week, a very hot week, so I'm going to have to use that as a strategy moving back and forth. So yeah, so this is our big hole. I'm going to be careful, I don't want to fall down it. But yeah, it's 5 feet to the bottom, to what I think will be the water line. And what I mean by that is the dirt you see on the surface here. I've dug down 6 inches to get to that, and I think that, roughly speaking, will be where the water line is. So everything you see as dirt here, that'll be the top of the water. But yeah, so this area here will be part of the rectangle running that way, like so, and all that will be 5 feet deep, as is down there, which is great news, because it's going to work, because it's been holding that water now for a few days. and it's actually sort of grown because there's obviously quite a bit of water cascading into it, and we've had a few wet days, really wet days. So it's kind of piled up in this area and run down in there. So that should stay there for a few weeks to come. And assuming that's the case, and it's not just evaporating off or getting hit by the sun too much, then it's great. We've got a pond, guys. And so the area up there that's going to be the filter, I'm not working on that at all at the moment, because I need to dig the pond out first, get all the water in it, and then we can start thinking about working on the filter, because until the pond's dug, there's no water to filter. But yeah, so you can see how we're doing. And I think I'm going to do this format, unless there's a big moan, but I think I'm going to do this format from now on, which is basically do a couple of weeks of work now, because we're although this is number 5, we're on 6 weeks in. But I think now, you know, I can show you next week, and all that will happen next week is there'll be a bit more dirt dug out in this area, getting down to that sort of 18-inch core sort of first layer, if you know what I mean, first level. So I'll wait until 2 weeks, and then I should have more progress. It might even all be done in 2 weeks' time. That'd be quite good. And then you'll see it'll just be a very yellow clay, rather than a brown patch of a little bit of topsoil and clay. So that'll be good. See some progress. But these are those pipes I was talking about. I've been digging out, and these are the ones that stayed intact. But there were quite a few that didn't make it, that got all smashed up. But yeah, there was definitely something important here, and I think it was a kiln. So there we go. Running up to the bar. We've got another can this week. We've got another can, and it's from a Welsh brewer, Tiny Rebel, and you might have seen it. In fact, you might have been terrified of it, because it's quite an exciting can. It's quite bright, it's quite vibrant, and Pineapple Express IPA. You might be thinking, well, what the hell's that? Well, 6.2% is what it is. It's proper dance juice, and you can do what you want with beer. Ultimately, it's a 7,000-year-old recipe. You can pretty much do what you want, and pretty much any flavour or any idea that you can think of in a beer, it's probably already been done, and done many times over. But there's no problem with adding grapefruit or pineapple or whatever to a beer. What's wrong with that? Why be a beer snob? So yeah, so this is just a very interesting brewery, a very interesting beer, and just to show that, here you go, this is what's in the can. If you've been scared of the big yellow can, that's what it looks like. It's an India Pale Ale, but with pineapple juice added, and it gives it a really citrusy bitterness, sharpness, exactly what you'd expect from the fruit itself, but with obviously undertones, overtones of IPA. So yeah, it's great. It's another great brewery, Tiny Rebel. They're down in Newport in South Wales, and I have not drunk as many of these guys' beer, or know enough about these guys' beer. Actually, I should have done more research, but I've had, and I can't remember what its name was, but I've had a really dark ruby ale from them, and it was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, it's another small brewery that needs our help and support. So yeah, if you see a beer with some fruit associated, and you happen to like the fruit, don't be afraid. Jump in, because they're great. Thanks very much. Take care. Speak to you in 2 weeks' time. Take care now. Bye.